The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is the first Zelda game within the Zelda timeline. The game explains the origins of a lot about the Zelda franchise, such as the debut of Hyrule, why Link and Zelda appeared almost every game, and why Ganon exists. This game contains one of my favorite final boss segments of all time, the battle between Link and the Demon King Demise. In my previous video, I dubbed this fight between Link and Demise the Battle of Fate. If you haven't seen that video yet, click the card on screen now to give it a watch. Still with me? Nice. So, after the battle is over, Demise thrusts his sword, which I have dubbed the Sovereign Sword, into the ground after losing his battle against the hero Link. Once Demise does this though, the Sovereign Sword dissolves away, removing any proof of its existence beforehand. My question to you is, well, why does that happen? My name is HylianLuke, and today I am joined by the one and only Nintendo Black Crisis. We are going to share with you my theory on why Demise's sword, the Sovereign Sword, dissolved after the final battle of Skyward Sword. Before we begin, if you haven't yet, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you are new to the channel. With that, Nintendo Black Crisis and I present to you The Vanished Blade.
To begin, we need to discuss exactly how the Master Sword and Sovereign Sword came to be. They are both divine weapons, as they are capable of performing skyward strikes. The Master Sword has the bearing mark of the Triforce upon it, as a symbol of the Golden Goddesses as well as Hylia. The Sovereign Sword also bears the mark of the Triforce, but rather an inverted or upside down one. This is due to how Hylia and Demise are polar opposites of one another, with the full Triforce representing Hylia and the inverted Triforce representing Demise. Starting with the Master Sword. The Blade of Evil's Bane has a lot of influence behind it that gives it the power to repel evil. In the very core of the Master Sword, or at least in its days of youth, it was formerly known as the Goddess Sword. Throughout the story of Skyward Sword, Link adventures with the Goddess Sword and must temper the sword in order to find Zelda. Through the flames of the Golden Goddesses, Furore, Nehru, and Din in that order, Link tempers the Goddess Sword into the Master Sword. And finally, after a long journey, Link finds Zelda and she explains to him that she is the Goddess Hylia reborn as a mortal. After this explanation, Zelda blesses the Master Sword with her divine power to awaken the Master Sword in its true form. The Master Sword was created using the power of all four goddesses. But the same can't necessarily be said about the Sovereign Sword. Much like how Hylia created the Master Sword, Demise created the Sovereign Sword. Nothing fuels the Sovereign Sword but the power of Demise, and the spirit that rests within the sword. Girahim. The same is said for the Master Sword, but with some extra powers to it. The power of the Golden Goddesses, Hylia, and the spirit within the Master Sword, Phi, come together to fuel the blade that seals the darkness with the power to repel evil.
At first glance, when Link defeats Demise, it seems that Demise's passing is what causes his sword to vanish into dust. Upon further speculation though, the clues and hints simply don't add up to that being the case. By the logic that Demise's sword vanishes due to the defeat of Demise, the same should have applied to the Master Sword, or rather, at the time the Goddess Sword, when Hylia gave up her immortal life to seal away Demise from spreading his hatred across the land.
There is also the argument that the Goddess Sword doesn't vanish because even though Hylia died to seal away Demise, she still exists in the form of Zelda, the reincarnation of Hylia. Well, that also applies to Demise, as he cursed the blood of the goddess and spirit of the hero to start a reincarnation period as well, which led to the existence of Ganondorf.
So, if neither of these ideas work, then what exactly causes the Sovereign Sword to stop existing and vanish before our very eyes? Let me answer this question with another question. Aside from physical appearance, what do the Master Sword and the Sovereign Sword have in common? If you guessed they both have spirits within them, you would be correct. Demon Lord Girahim is not only an antagonist who attempts to defeat Link from ruining his plans, but he is also the spirit that rests within Demise's blade, the Sovereign Sword. In the final battle with Girahim, Link actually gravely wounds Girahim from the constant stabbing of the diamond on his chest. From the final blows Link performed onto him to the jabs he made in the second half of the fight. After the battle ends, however, Demise is reborn as the spell to resurrect Demise was continued as Link and Girahim fought. Moments later, Demise duels Link in the final battle to the game. Upon Demise's defeat, this is when and why the Sovereign Sword vanishes. While Demise was around, Girahim couldn't truly die, as his creator was there to keep him alive. However, upon the defeat of Demise, Demise's power was being sucked into the Master Sword to be eradicated from existence. This is what triggers the Sovereign Sword to disappear. By defeating Demise and the spirit within the sword known as Girahim, Link causes the disappearance of the Master Sword's polar opposite, the Sovereign Sword. With this being said, the same theoretically can also happen to the Master Sword. If a power were to defeat Hylia, as well as the spirit within the Master Sword known as Phi, the Master Sword would also cease from existence, and just as the Sovereign Sword did, it would dissolve without warning. Thank you all so much for watching this theory on the disappearance of Demise's sword. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like on the video as well as subscribe if you are new to the channel. While you're at it, be sure to click the bell icon so you will never miss a future upload. What are your thoughts on the theory? Is it plausible or not? Let me know in the comments below. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Nintendo Black Crisis for joining me on this video. Here are a few words from Nintendo Black Crisis.
Zonai. Zonai.
The Zonai. Yes, the Zonai. The Zonai, right, the Zonai. Speaking of the Zonai, Nintendo Black Crisis actually did do a video about the Zonai, and it is a great video, so if you would like to check that out, be sure to check out the card in the top right corner of the screen, or you can watch it on the end card at the end of the video. Also, you can check out all my socials in the description down below, as well as my Discord servers. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so by pledging $1 or more to my Patreon per month. That's all for now, so once again, my name is HylianLuke, and I will see you all next time. Ciao!